So we got a bit of boxing news, and to be honest, I'm quite excited about this potential matchup. It's going to be on June 5th. George Kambosos is going to have the first defense of his titles, and it looks like the opponent standing across from him is going to be none other than Vasily Lomachenko in Marvel Stadium, 55,000 people. This has big fight feel all over it.
Yeah, I'm super excited, and I know we have a ways to wait for this one, but Lomachenko is always and will always be one of my favorite fighters to watch, not just in boxing, but in combat sports in general. He's got such an entertaining style. He's such a fun fighter to watch. Literally one of the most technical boxers that the world's ever seen, and if you disagree with that, then you just don't know boxing. I mean, the guy really, really does some things that nobody else is doing, and even though he had a couple of losses, of course, the second fight of his pro career, he lost for a title, and that was controversial. And then he lost again later in his career, and everybody just sort of wrote him off as like, oh, he's this old guy. He needs to go get some shoulder surgery. Let's forget about it.
He was a better amateur.
Right. And I just think that couldn't be further from the truth. And I'm really happy to see that even though they did kind of brush him off for a little while, that he was able to come back, get a couple of victories, look really good doing it, and now he's right back in the biggest fight in his weight classes, any of the weight classes. There's a bunch of belts on the line. There's a bunch of stuff at stake basically here, and he got the biggest fight once again. So I'm really excited. I've always been a Lomachenko fan. I'm a bit biased when it comes to Lomachenko. I'm always going to pick him to win because I do think he has the skills to be the best boxer on the planet skillfully. And Kambosos, while he's very, very good, I just think that the high-tech Vasily Lomachenko style is going to be a lot for him to deal with.
Yeah, I think George Kambosos did everything right in the build-up to the Teofimo Lopez fight. He did the right thing in the ring. His little tour of America, if you will, thereafter when he went to the Devin Haney fight, showed up. He's literally showing up at the stadium with his belts, getting clips, creating content, creating drama and controversy. I couldn't be more of a fan of what George Kambosos is doing right now. I think the guy gets the game and he gets the business of the game as well. And that's why he's going to be fighting at Marvel Stadium to damn near 60,000 screaming fans. And it's going to be a big pay-per-view to do. I think his performance against Teofimo Lopez was truly inspiring. Teofimo Lopez has crazy power. He's touted as the takeover. That's what he calls himself. And he's a very good boxer. We saw him defeat Lomachenko fair and square. That was a close fight, but I think Teofimo won that fight. And we talk about how good we think Lomachenko is. So that speaks to how good Teofimo Lopez actually is. And then even more so how good George Kambosos is. But he said, I'm not going to let this guy bully me. This guy thinks he's going to come in here and bully me with his power, take me out in the first or second round. You know, he was promising a first round knockout, was Teofimo. And Kambosos said he has no idea. I'm the better boxer. I've trained my whole life for this. I'm going to stand toe to toe with him and I'm going to kick his ass. And that's exactly what he did. And I couldn't have been more impressed with that. And I think Kambosos is a true budding star in boxing. He could be the next big Australian superstar in combat sports. You know, we had in the UFC, we just had the biggest Kiwi versus Australian fight that you could make, which was Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker. And now to have a boxing star from that part of the world in Kambosos, I think is a wonderful thing. And we don't really do stadiums like that in America. We like our fights to be in smaller venues, like 20,000 person venues where basketball teams would play and hockey teams would play. But this is going to be in a straight up soccer stadium where, you know, you're going to have an outdoor venue. It's going to be that big, you know, Australian, what we've come to know, huge live gate. This is going to be a really, really big fight.
Yeah, and one thing that happens in combat sports is you see a lot of times a home court advantage actually turn into a home court disadvantage. So be careful what you wish for when you're a fighter and you say, you know what, I want to go put on a show for my people. I want to go put on a show in my backyard. Kambosos got that. That's what he's getting. But he's also getting a very, very difficult opponent that's coming to his place. And he's not coming the week before fight camp. It looks like he's moving down there for a few months, 3 or 4 months leading up to this fight. Lomachenko is going to do his entire camp down there. And I know that it can be a little bit difficult at times for fighters to just pop in and out of Australia because of some of the restrictions that they've got. So it's smart of him to do that. If there's any sort of obstacles that he does need to maneuver around, it's better he do it now than a week before the fight when everything's kind of up in the air and he has to focus on cutting weight. I think this is a really smart move for Lomachenko, and I don't think you're going to watch Lomachenko get burned twice in a career like he did. Teofimo Lopez fought the perfect fight, and Lomachenko didn't get his feet going. He didn't get the ball rolling, as they say, until way too late, and it was almost like he waited too long. And the fight did start to go in his direction towards the end. I do think Teofimo did really good in the final round, but rounds 7 through 11, Lomachenko started to put it on him, and if he would have done that a few rounds earlier, it would have been his fight to win. I just think that Lomachenko has so many skills, and he's not going to allow himself to basically sit on the sidelines and lose round after round after round against Kambosos. He's going to come like he did in his last fight with tons of intensity and a very tenacious style. We're going to see him try to go for those finishes. I don't think he's going to finish Kambosos. I think he's likely going to take this all the way to the judges, but he's got the skills and the style to make this a very interesting fight. And while I do see it going round after round, back and forth to these guys like a tennis match, I think my way early prediction right now is that Lomachenko does get these belts. He does go collect a bunch of hardware and take it back to Ukraine with him.
It could certainly happen. This is going to be a very exciting fight. I think the skill and technical advantage is going to go to Lomachenko. The range, the size, the strength, and the toughness is going to go to Kambosos. But Lomachenko showed us against Nakatani that he learned from his mistakes against Teofimo Lopez. He came out with something to prove, and he really put it on Nakatani from the first round. And it's one of those things, right? If you give up the first 6 rounds of a 12-round fight, you've got to win every round, and you've got to win one of them by 10-8 for it not to be a draw. And all your opponent has to do in the back 6 is just steal one of those rounds, and they've stolen the fight. So that was the mistake that he made, not gearing up and get going early enough in that Lopez fight. You won't see him make that mistake again. They don't call him high tech for no reason. He downloads the data, including his own mistakes, and then he basically acts accordingly. So I don't know. Early, I'm leaning towards Kambosos because I think there's really something to be said for momentum. Yeah. There's something to be said for when a young man has the world as their oyster and they really have the confidence and believe in themselves like Kambosos does. Sometimes that can take you to new heights that you didn't know you could achieve before. And I think that might be where Kambosos is right now. Lomachenko is approaching that mid-30s age, and while he's still fresh and still a very good fighter, the age advantage will be leaning towards Kambosos here. Man, this could go either way, and we'll do a full predictions video as it gets much, much closer, but I'm leaning towards Kambosos to actually win this fight.
Yeah, and I will say thanks to boxing and thanks to these fighters in particular, you got to give all the credit to the fighters. Maybe a smidge goes to the promoters, but they're getting all the best guys in the ring against each other as quickly in as many different ways as possible. The divisions between 130 and 140 have so many good fighters and so many fun matchups that we all want to see, and luckily we're starting to get them. You know, Devin Haney is going to likely get the winner of this fight, I would assume, right? And that's a fun matchup because I don't know who would win that fight. We got Gervonta Davis right there. We got all kinds of really fun fighters. Teofimo's he's not gone. There's so many fun fights to be had. So whoever wins this fight, it definitely doesn't get to breeze into a next victory or something like that. There's likely a very, very tough opponent waiting to steal those belts from them. So I can't wait for this one. I know we got a ways to go, and we'll do some more footage on it later. But, man, when they announced this, I got really excited.
Me too. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. How do you like this matchup between Kambosos and Lomachenko, and who do you think is going to win? Drop us a comment and let us know, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.